Hello, everybody. Good
Morning.
morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the third episode of MS Weekly series on basically dealing with issues with people with MS and other autoimmune illnesses. First of all, I would like to welcome who I call her Auntie Kiki. Say hello, Auntie Kiki. She's always reminding me to take my blood pressure meds every morning, and she always threatens me. You know, she's very detailed like that. So Auntie Kiki and I have been in the same MS group for a few years, but we actually just became close in the last few months. The blessings of COVID, I guess. So Auntie Kiki is going to tell us her story today with her lovely daughter, Nkiru. Right, Nkiruka, did I pronounced it properly, right? Yes? Okay. So we'll come back to you in a minute. And then we have an amazing lady who I just met. I read about her, but Yemisi introduced us recently. And oh my God, when I read her bio, I was like, oh my God, awesome. Her name is Funmi Johnson. Not only is she very pretty, she's extremely intelligent. So, so she actually is a lawyer. She's 17 years post-qualification experience. She's a qualified coach and counselor. And she has, she basically started an NGO, right? It was an NGO to deal, not an NGO. Unmute for me, please. Sorry, can you unmute her, please?
Not an NGO. I work with people. It's a paid for service, but obviously, you know, I'm not going to let money prevent me from helping people. So,
okay, so Funmi works with women. Her vision was what caught me. I'm going to read it to everyone. It says, her vision is to provide services for women, not just to survive trauma, but to thrive. And get this, because every woman deserves to reach her full potential. So she works with women to take them through, you know, whatever traumatic experiences that they have been through, and to build self-confidence in them, you know, post-trauma. Am I right? Yes. Okay. So, and then obviously my very, very able, very able partner in crime, Yemisi Illo. Welcome, Yemisi. Say hi. Yemisi, she there? Can you unmute Yemisi?
I'm here.
Okay, so can you kindly unmute Funmi, Auntie Kiki, and Yemisi, please, so that I don't have to keep saying unmute. Can you kindly unmute the speakers and mute everyone else? Could you do that, please?
I am Msain.
Sure. Okay, awesome.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to start with Auntie Kiki. So Auntie Kiki has been diagnosed with MS for the last 13 years. And so I'm going to give the floor to Auntie Kiki to just tell us, sorry, today's topic, I'm a bit flustered because of the technical issues we had at the beginning, so give me a minute to just get my brains together, my thoughts together. So today we're going to be talking about not just MS, but we're going to be talking about autoimmune, the caregivers, support for the caregivers. We're going to be talking about how to provide support, not just for the sufferers, but also how the caregivers get to cope with this trauma, cope with this, living with this person that they love, dealing with this illness. Yeah? So that's why we have Nkiru. Nkiru is going to talk to us. She's going to come from the caregiver point of view. She's going to tell us how it has been like being a primary caregiver for her awesome mom. Okay, so Auntie Kiki, the floor is yours. Can you just give us a brief history of your of how long you've had MS and what it's been like in the last 13 years?
Okay. Give or take 13 years ago, I've always believed that MS only affected Caucasians and not Africans. So when I started having issues, I was at a loss what to do, so I went to Reddington, okay? But at that time, I was recovering from DVT. And after a lot of tests and everything, they said it was myasthenia gravis, first of all. Then it was changed to MS. And of course, nobody believed it could be MS. So I actually lived for 3 years on my own, taking care of myself. With the help, well, unfortunately, my kids had to be involved. Trying to figure out what it was. When it was diagnosed, this was in South Africa, then things changed. It's been tough because I'm a single mother. My kids were very young. Nkiruka, I think, must have been about 6 when I came down with MS. Her sister was 8. I was caring for them. And I went through the first stages of my speech went, my balancing went. Then I went to the extreme of falling. My memory went for a long time. I couldn't write. I couldn't talk. I slurred non-stop. Nobody could understand me. But the worst part was the fear of not knowing what to do and not knowing where to go to for help. So it was my doctor who was taking care of me when I had DVT that actually put me through, should I call it the rites of passage, of trying to cope with, or trying to cope to understand what MS was all about, which he honestly didn't have that much knowledge on what MS was all about. And so it was more like a trial and error process, okay? The one drug that saw me through was anacadine. And I don't know, it was tough. It was tough, and I think it was harder on the girls because they didn't understand what was going on, and neither did I. So
Yes.
it was tough. It was tough. And I was also trying to work as well. So I don't know who had it worse, me or the children. I don't know who had it worse.
Okay, because I understand how difficult it is for you to not know, and that's what we have been dealing with for the last 2 episodes. The fact that those of us diagnosed with this have not been able to get the right diagnosis or the right support medically.
Yeah.
Primarily, and then not to even talk about mentally.
Yeah.
If we don't know what's wrong with us physically, how will we be able to sort out our mental state?
Yes.
And like you said, one of the things that traumatized me at that point in time was being told that it was a figment of my imagination, or that I was pretending, or I was lying, or I was horrible.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had to keep apologizing for being ill. So I found that I had to keep, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I found that I had to keep apologizing for being ill, and it messed with my mind. And my children didn't know what was wrong. I just had my second baby, she was 3 months, and my first child was 2. So, I mean, I had no clue. They literally grew up with me and with their mom, you know, looking like a zombie most of the time. So I can relate, and I think most of us can relate coming from that perspective, not knowing on what to do, and we felt lost for a few years. So I think most of us can say that we lost a few years trying to find out what was wrong with us, just staying in limbo, not knowing. And I think you can, okay. So I have been instructed to say, let everyone keep your mics on mute while I talk, and then, you know, so that we don't get background sound. So, and I also found that trauma, or the lack of being taken care of mentally, built up over time. And I think that's what most of us experienced as well. So Nkiru, I want to ask, being that young and seeing your mom, I mean, I love your work, by the way. Nkiru is a wonderful, successful model in the UK and here in Nigeria as well. And she's only 19, yay, go Nkiru. So, I would like to tell us, being one of your mom's caregivers, what it was like taking care of her, and what that felt like for you as a child and now an adult.
Well, in the beginning, it was flying from Dubai to South Africa, then coming back to Lagos. But in my mind, it was just, we're going on holiday, I'm enjoying my life. But it was only once you actually got to South Africa that mommy actually sat my sister and I down and told us, okay, they said that this is what's actually going on. Because when we went to Dubai, it was a case of, oh, mommy didn't have it. Then she goes to another doctor, she had it. Somebody now said she didn't have it. So finally, when we actually got there, she got diagnosed. We're like, okay. But the first 3 years, it was still kind of shaky. We only witnessed mommy falling down. So we'll have like at 4 a.m., we'll just hear like a big crash. So mine and my sister and I were very tiny. So we'll all put our strength to kind of carry mommy up. We'll all be in pain as well, but we'll try to get her back up. And it was always every night, oh, mom will mistakenly burn her hands, and she'll feel so bad because it's not her. It's just she doesn't know what is going on. Until there was a day where mommy just collapsed on the floor, like just flat on the floor, no movement, no eyes opening, nothing. And my sister and I, we didn't know what was going on. So we had to like run outside to find somebody who could drive a car, take mommy to the hospital, until we found out, oh, mommy actually died for 1 minute, then her doctor brought her back. There was a constant battle in school, like, okay, having to stay awake at ungodly hours in the night to make sure, okay, mommy should not fall down. Then going to school the next morning, looking tired and everything. Then mommy having to tell our teachers is not their fault, like what is going on. And we still have the occasional teacher saying, oh, don't try and use your mom's MS to get away from this and that. So growing up, it was harder. Then I think as we got to the age of 15, 16, 17, it started just, it was a normal occurrence, until I know there was one, the biggest one was when mommy forgot who we were, forgot our names, my name, my sister's names, didn't know who we were at all. So her sisters came the next day, rushing her, came to collect her. We didn't see mommy for like a month because they rushed her back to England to sort out what was going on. And that was the point where my sister and I knew, okay, yes, some things are not going to be the same in the house. So it was a constant battle of, okay, we need to make sure mommy's okay, but mommy also making sure that we don't stress ourselves. So it's always, mommy, let's care for you. Mommy be like, no, I'm the mother, I'm meant to care for you. But like, child, you've kept as we've grown up, we just thank God, at least she's here. That's what we just thank, no matter the pain or the burning or the whatever, just to thank God she's breathing and she's alive at the end of the day. So it's been okay.
Wow. Wow, I mean, I must commend your strength and your bravery. I must commend you for that, because I can't even begin to imagine what that must have felt like. I cast my mind back to the first time that I had my episode. It was in Port Harcourt, and I was carrying my second daughter on my left side, and then I couldn't carry her anymore. I was walking my dad to the car. He was traveling, and when I was coming back, I couldn't hold her, and then all of a sudden my hand just stopped working, my leg. And now in that chaos, when everyone was around trying to do their thing, I remember my 2-year-old, she's 12 now, I remember her face. It hasn't left me. The horror on her face, her hands reaching out because she saw all these people around her mom. Before I blacked out, that was the last picture I had in my mind. And it hasn't left me till now, 10 years later. So I can't imagine what that must have been like. I'm sure she definitely didn't understand what was going on. But I know that as they've grown older, the thought of, it breaks my heart as a mom to see my daughters walk me up the stairs, help me up the stairs, put me to bed, take me to the bathroom, undress me when I can't, when I can't remember words. They know now. It's for their age. As a mom, I know what Auntie Kiki feels like, because the burden of having to put them back at a tender age, it weighs heavy on us as I don't know what
and
to call it. So
you worry whether you've messed them up mentally.
Yes, you worry whether they're yes. Are they going to be able to have a normal life after this? You don't want to be a burden, but it is what it is. At the end of, there's that side, and then the flip side is that you're trying to teach them how to be more caring and more sympathetic and more aware, more human. So, Yemisi, what about you? What's it been like having your caregivers?
Wow. In fact, I have a whole team. I have a whole team of caregivers. That's just the honest truth. So I have 4 children, and the MS symptoms first started 17 years ago, actually, when I just had my second. She was a baby then. Now, the honest truth is that for a long time, I was fine. I was ambulatory. I was walking and stuff. So I would actually hide my cane, right, from the kids. My oldest two were young then, so I would really hide my cane from them, and I kept it from them for as long as I actually could, until it just was what it was. I was using a cane, and unfortunately, my younger two have never actually really seen me walk. My youngest has never seen me walk, which I think is really quite sad. They're so accustomed, I think they're so used to it now. They're so used to me constantly having to be massaged, because I get a lot of spasms and like spasticity. So they're used to me being massaged. I don't like it, because in my head I'm thinking, my God, this is just not right. There's so many things I ought to be doing with them. There's so many things I ought to be hanging out with them. Instead, they're just, seeing me squirm in pain, being massaged, not moving. It's terrible. But I believe that we're raising children that are more empathetic. I believe that we're raising children see that will not see disability as some kind of um, disease or terrible thing, and will be able to relate with anybody irrespective. Because this Nigeria is a very terrible place, because a lot of children, when they see people in wheelchairs or they see people that are a little bit different, they stare. All they do is stare. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not exposed, not used to it, Um, it's not nice. My husband, he's the one that's really borne the brunt of this whole thing. Midnights, getting to the loo, getting dressed. It's a real drain. It's almost like your caregiver is living 2 lives. Their life,
Yeah.
your life. That's just the truth. Because they have to do everything twice, you know? So it is, so for me, it's psychologically draining thinking about them all the time. So it's in recent times that I'm just thinking, well, you know what, I've just got to think about myself too. I'm the one that's actually going through this. And I'm grateful for their assistance and stuff, but I cannot constantly be thinking about them. It doesn't do me
Yeah.
any good, you know?
But yeah,
So,
that was a gradual process, obviously, because initially it was a gradual process to be able to get that. Like you said, yeah, like my 5-year-old, she was born, she's the only child that I've had with MS. And contrary to what everybody said, that my symptoms would relapse, it didn't. I went through the whole period with my symptoms. So I wasn't one of the lucky ones at all. And I remember quite recently when my, I wouldn't really call her, I didn't know, she's like a daughter to me. She's been with me for 10 years. You know, she started off as a nanny, but she's pretty much like my younger sister now. I wouldn't say my daughter, she's like my younger sister. And she's the one who was giving me a bath because I had a relapse and I couldn't move. And my 5-year-old was appalled. Literally, the others had been used to it, and she was appalled that her auntie was giving her mom a bath. She just couldn't wrap her head around it. And so we had to laugh it off. And I told her, don't you know that I'm a 5-year-old too? That's why they're giving me a bath. And then we laughed it off. But it's trying to raise them up that way has impacted all of us one way or the other, in a good way or in a bad way. And the annoying thing, I like you said, Yemisi, like things like having to deal with a flare and go to school. I'm not wheelchair bound, but when I have a flare, I have to use a walking stick, which is permanently by my bedside in case I need to go to the bathroom or anything like that, and I've lost my mobility. And I have my children being asked all kinds of stupid questions. What's wrong with your mom? You know, they get not laughed. I don't want to use the word laughed at, but you know, questions that they cannot answer. And the other day, my daughter said, her teacher said to them to name illnesses, you know, sicknesses that they know. And she said multiple sclerosis. And everybody started laughing in the class that there's nothing like that. What is that? And she was like, there is an illness called multiple sclerosis. My mom has it. Oh, no, your mom doesn't. Your mom does not look sick. And then she said, Mommy, I just kept quiet because they didn't understand. And I didn't think that I should explain it to them. I said, well, maybe you should. You know, maybe you should. Maybe we should start educating people about the invisible illnesses. I'm not sure. It's still, you know, too much to.
No, I think it's important too. I think it's important too because, I mean, okay, there have been times, you know, many years ago, in airports, in really large airports, I used to envy those people that got to go in the buggies. Like, kind, these people don't have to go all the way to immigration. You know, be careful what you wish for because how many years later I was in the buggy. And I remember people would look at me like, what's wrong with this one? Do you know what I mean? Why does she get to go in this buggy? She looks fine. She's there with a high
yes. I've had that experience before.
You know, which can be terrible. Having to explain to people that actually this is not because I feel like it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like last for the last 2 episodes, like we said, when we're talking about when we had the neurologist on in the last 2 episodes, it was very clear, very, very clear to all of us the gap that needs to be filled in this country where invisible illnesses are concerned. We use MS as a point because it's what we have. It also deals with fibromyalgia, lupus, and all the other ones that I can't even pronounce. Like last week we had my friend Chindelu who had an illness called Guillain-Barré. I've never heard about it before. It sounds quite exotic. It sounds like a place, like a holiday resort or something, you know, but it exists. And we don't have that provision here in Nigeria. I can't tell you how many times at work, oh my word, you know, I can't formulate the words, being treated like you are lazy.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you the time I think people took this seriously was when I went to get the stem cell transplant that I did. And obviously, because it was chemotherapy based, I lost all my hair. So I was completely bald. And chemotherapy had burnt my skin. So I was like black. And I'd had reactions to the antibiotics. So I had a rash. I looked like somebody out of The Walking Dead. And that was the first time I think that people really thought, oh, this MS thing is serious. So, do you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
and and it was from there because people actually saw physical change.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult for people to wrap themselves, their heads around
Yeah.
I
something they
spoke to someone this morning. She's young, very young, in one of the groups that I'm on, and she's had a really bad relapse. She's 24. She's 24. She doesn't know how to cope with her slurs, her hand not moving, her leg not moving. She has people around her who tell her, let's go to church, the pastor will pray, it will be well, or there's nothing wrong with you. Just move the leg, move the leg, move the hand, move the hand.
Leg.
Just help. And then I'm like, can you all just back off for a minute? I've never met her before. But I told her, I said, you know what? I'm coming to you. I have to find you. And, I need to help because we need to do this. We need to spread this because I've had people who are suicidal. We underestimate now. Funmi, this is where you come in to tell us how to handle.
So one last thing.
After last week, I was convinced that I need therapy. I need to see someone.
One last thing. Do you know that MS has got the highest? People with MS have got the highest rate of suicide in the world.
Yes.
Yes, I read that. I read that.
Yes.
Yeah, I read that.
Yes.
I read that.
We all need some sort of therapy, some sort of for people to know that this exists. There was a famous person, I think recently, some years ago, I don't want to call her name, who had this illness. Yemisi knows her, the lady, and she died. Why? Because she was taking to her hometown and they were using herbal things. They refused to admit what she had, even though she was diagnosed with it, I think, and she died. Why? So we all need. I know I need help. I don't know about anyone else. I know I need help because for us to function daily, for us to be effective in our community, in our environment, as mothers, for those of us who are mothers, as parents in our work environment, we need to shut down our emotions. We need to put aside our pain.
Yeah.
So others will not. I can't tell you how many times. You're still sick. You were sick last week. It is still bothering you. Oh, you're still tired. I thought you would be awake by now. I thought you went to the hospital yesterday. You're still going again today. But this is again. This leg, the leg, I thought you had it last week. The thing is still worrying you. And these are people who are constant. They're not new. They're not new. They're people who have seen it quite a few times. So I'm wondering, okay, so how many times do I need to repeat myself for you to know what this is? Should I put a placard on my head so that we know what we're dealing with? But anyway, let me put my emotions aside. Funmi, please help us here so that we can all calm down.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me on. When Yemisi asked, I thought, gosh, what do I know? What am I going to come on and say? And I just thought, oh, okay. But what I'm hearing is it's just heartbreaking. The things that I've picked out from what you're saying, the societal responses, in our society, in our culture, everything is infiltrated by religion. And so it's like, okay, you're not well, come, let them lay hands on you. Are you fasting and praying? Everything's just fused religion as if, and it can leave you feeling as if there's something inherently wrong with you, that's why you have this thing. They give you the burden of saying, maybe if I were a better person, maybe if I were a more religious person, maybe if I were a more prayerful person, this thing would not be happening to me. So they give you that guilt because they don't know what to do with it. They don't understand it. And I fully agree with you. There is a need for education. I suspect it will take a really long time, because what struck me in the thing you said last was, these are not new people. So you would think that they would remember, but they don't. The hidden nature of the condition. I remember when back in the 80s, when there was the first emergence of, I forget what the full name is, but the short form is ME, and they called it yuppie flu. And it was so derogatory. The way they said it, like, it's yuppie flu. These people, first world problems. What do you mean you're so tired you can't get out of bed? It's the hidden nature that brings that mental load, that guilt, that takes the toll, that drains you emotionally, the constantly having to explain. And I was struck by the fact that Yemisi said she hid things at first, because there is a real cost to being open about something that is out of the ordinary in a society that does not accept out of the ordinary. I remember when I first moved back to Nigeria, and I was just talking to my husband randomly. And I think he said something about his office, or I had gone to his office. And he said to me that there's no lift. And my first thought was, so how do people who are in a wheelchair work in your office? He said, oh, that they have offices on the ground floor, but they're not real offices. I said, so are they not real members of staff? Why would you not find a way to let them integrate into the real, office? And he just looked at me. And I mean, he was in the UK as well, so he understood it a bit more. But till date, we've been back in Nigeria now for nearly 10 years. They still have no lift in his office. They still have no accessibility. To get into his office, there's a ramp, quite all right. But then to get into the actual office, there's steps. I'm like, okay, so you have a ramp. How do I get my wheelchair up your stairs? And it's that hidden nature, because people see you and you don't look sick. It was so painful to hear Yemisi say that until she looked like death warmed up, people understood that she was truly unwell. And, language is so important, and we use it carelessly. People say, oh, you have this. No, people are living with, because we can't just label people as if they are the condition. They are people, they are mothers, they are wives, they are friends, they are sisters, they are daughters, they are workers, and they live with this condition. And so it's so important that even when we are talking to people, we have to be careful. I know people will say, oh, it's pedantic. Why do you have to keep going on about language? That's because language is important. Language is how we change things. Language is how we change things. Until we address things, until we call things we don't have any hope of changing people's perception of it. So that is why you get people saying, oh, if you just do this, if you do that, if you try this herbal thing, if you try that herbal thing, understand the physiological nature of the situation that I am dealing with. It is a reality that my mobility is affected by this condition. It is a reality that I have some days that are better than others. And I need understanding, I need flexibility around those times. I would hope that the COVID-19 situation would make people more empathic, more flexible, because at the end of the day, people thought, oh, people can't work if they're not in the office. I think we've all given the lie to that. We have worked outside of the office for over a year now. So why can we not make accommodation for the fact that if I have a bad day today, I may be feeling better later, and I will do my work then? Why do we have to have this whole constriction around, you must do your work at this time, or the work has got to be done in this way? How about an understanding? So sometimes I'm really saddened by the fact that we pay lip service to the fact that we are an international organization. But when we begin to look at policies and procedures, we realize that no, they're a very local organization, an organization that does not accept anybody who doesn't look like everybody else, an organization that does not accept anybody who does not function like everybody else, and an organization that does not understand that this term is a big term and the symptoms affect people differently. We all have different symptoms. It affects us in different ways. Some of us may be better in others. Some of us may be able to function differently than others, but it doesn't mean that we are faking. It doesn't mean that there's, not the need for accommodation. But I guess the thing that I wanted to say really even to Nkiru, and I don't know if we have any other caregivers on the call, is that emotional support is very important for them, because Nkiru and her sister were so young, and so were your daughters, so young when you first started to show the symptoms. And in as much as they love you, I have no doubt that they love you, I'm feeling that sometimes they must feel like, my gosh, I'm so tired. I wish mommy would just get better so I could just have my life back.
Yeah.
And I just want to say to Nkiru and others who are caring for parents or loved ones, don't feel guilty about that. It is a perfectly natural reaction. Don't feel guilty. It's natural to long for what you think is a normal life. But at the end of the day, you're doing what you're doing. And, you know, there are others who feel that way and they hurt the people they're caring for. So that's, you know, that's something else. So don't feel guilty about that. But also, if you need emotional support, there's nothing wrong in getting that emotional support for yourself. Because in as much as it's important for us to understand that the person who is living with MS or lupus or fibromyalgia or any of those conditions is a person separate from their condition, it's also important for you to realize that you are a person separate from your caregiving function. You are also a person. You have your own hopes, your own dreams, your own desires. And so it's important for you to carve out some time. You know, I remember asking Yemisi once that, you know, is there respite care available? Because there is a need for the caregiver to have respite as well. Because caring for somebody 24/7, it drains you. It drains you, and it doesn't allow you to remember that you are a separate person from your caregiving function. So whatever emotional support you need, don't feel guilty about needing it, and take it where you can. Even if it's as simple as going out for an hour or two and just cutting loose. Do that. Do that because you need it. You need to decompress. And I think the other thing that I really wanted to say, and I will stop before I carry on, is that the one thing I thought about was that for a lot of you who are dealing with the condition, living with the condition, and even those of you who are caring, there is a bereavement that has gone on. Typically, when we think of bereavement, we think of people dying.
Yes.
But there is also the loss of dreams, the loss of the life we thought we would have. And so there is an adjustment that needs to be made to deal with that. Because until we deal with it, we're going to continually be fighting ourselves and wondering, why do I feel like the way I feel? So there will be, you know, there are stages of grief. There is anger, there is denial, there is bargaining, there is depression before we finally get to acceptance. And we may feel like we do it once and that's it. But I don't believe so. I believe that sometimes, I feel that listening to what you've said is that maybe every time you have a flare, you may be thrown back into that cycle because you may have been going for a really long time and feeling like I'm just finally getting a hold of this situation. And then you have a flare and you're right back to, my God, I thought this was done. And you experience that wave of loss all over again. And so the work that we have to do, those who are living with it, those who are caring, those of us who will offer emotional support, we have to understand that there is a process. There are things that need to be done so that people can come to terms with it mentally and emotionally as well as physically. So there is a real sense of we have to accept the reality of the loss. I have a client and she was one of those women who was always doing like 50 million things at once. And she really struggles with the idea that now sometimes she's so tired that she can't get out of bed for days on end. And she keeps saying to me, but I'm not that person. I'm not that person. You know me. I used to do this, I used to do that. And I said, but that's not your life now. So first of all, you need to accept the reality of that loss. And then you have to process the pain because it needs processing. Trauma that is unresolved will show up wherever. It has to show up somewhere. So you need to process that pain. You need to process that loss. And then you need to do the work of adjusting to it and understanding that the life I thought I would have is not available to me right now. It may never be available to me in the way that I thought it would be, but it doesn't mean I can't live a fulfilling life.
Exactly.
And I remember when I was listening to you, I remember a book that I read, and then I watched the film. It's called Before Me. I think it's called Before Me.
Me before you or something. You before
Yeah,
me.
Me before
yes,
you.
Yes.
And I remember reading the book, and the guy was this, he was this adventurous guy. He was wealthy, he was active, and he'd been hit by a motorcycle, and he ended up being, I think he was quadriplegic.
Quadriplegic, yes.
And the girl who came to, or the young woman who came to look after him, it was a fixed term contract, and she didn't understand why. And as the film unfolded, or the book unfolded, we came to understand that it's because he had committed to giving his parents, I think, 6 months. But at the end of 6 months, if he hadn't changed his feelings, he was going to commit. He was going to commit. I don't know that you can commit assisted suicide. He was going to go. Yeah, he was going to go through the assisted suicide. Yeah. And I remember reading the book, and even worse, when I watched the film, I remember thinking, no, why would you do that? She loved you. There are people around you. And he said, but this is not his life.
Yes.
And it's only now that I realized that perhaps he didn't manage to go through every stage. He didn't manage to adjust. He didn't manage to see that, yes, this was not the life he had before, and it's not the life he thought he would have, but it's a life nonetheless. But he said, no, it's not the life I wanted, and I don't want this life. And so he decided to go the assisted suicide route. But it's hard. There is so much guilt. As a mother, you feel a fair amount of guilt anyway that you're not messing up your kids. But a mother who is then relying on her children to care for her, that brings a whole new level of guilt, I'm sure. Because you're now thinking, how can I equip my girls or my children when they are looking after me? This is not the order of things. But my oldest daughter is 10, and she said something to me the other day. She asked me a question. She said, Mummy, do you regret anything in your life? And I didn't want to answer her because I had a fair number of things I was regretful about. And then I thought, no, if she asked the question, let me answer her. And I said, yes, that I wish I had financially prudent. And she said to me, oh, why is that? And I said, well, because, I would have liked to have been able to leave this, that, and the other to you guys and so on and so forth. And she said to me, but Mummy, you realize that your legacy is more than what you can leave to us. And I was like, really? She said, yes, Mummy, the things you teach us, the way you teach us lessons, the information you give us, the way you're developing us. I thought to myself, gosh, I've been schooled by a 10-year-old.
Wow.
And so for those of you who are moms, and perhaps you are feeling, I'm not a real mom, or I'm not doing my mumly duties because my children are caring for me. The fact of the matter is, you are teaching them so many things that perhaps without this condition, you may have struggled to find a way to teach them. You are teaching them about dignity. You are teaching them about diligence. You are teaching them about respect for people who don't look like you, who don't live a life like you do. You are teaching them about resilience. You are teaching them about love and sacrifice. You are teaching them about obedience. You are teaching them so many things that money cannot teach, that other life lessons will struggle to teach. And for that, I applaud you. I applaud you all, because in the face of great adversity, you continue to be a mom. So I applaud you for that.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. We needed to hear that, I guess. Thank you.
Very much so.
Someone asked a question about transverse myelitis, or I'm not perhaps pronounced. Myelitis. Okay, so what it is that it's similar to MS, and basically there's an inflammation in your spine, in the spine, and chances are that condition can lead to multiple sclerosis. So yeah, there's a very fine line between the two conditions. One leads to the other. So you need to just confirm that the lesions have not.
I think with
You need
transverse
to.
myelitis, you don't really have lesions in the brain. It's more
No,
spinal
the
cord.
spine. The spine.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Yeah, the spine. So, but it can lead to multiple sclerosis. That's what I think. So I think you just need to keep an eye or check on it, or keep asking your doctor just to make sure that no more symptoms that are similar to MS, if they have developed or anything like that, you just need to keep an eye on it and just monitor yourself. And I hope that answers your question. Someone asked that question, so I need to get it out. So yeah, there was something you said about, once you said it, I remember one of the last few times I had to take my daughter to school and I was in the flare. Now I have a sister. I have two sisters actually who are on this thing. They both have fibromyalgia, wonderful, wonderful women. And they are, their mothers, and they have fibromyalgia. And I know, so we have, with three siblings, three of us have autoimmune illnesses. Now, I know what it's been like because of this, my sisters, this mental struggle, taking care of children. And my elder sister, you know, her first daughter, our daughters at the same age, and it's a struggle for both of us to be able to manage. You should see her sometimes, it's quite comical. Oh, my back is paining me. Oh, my leg. Okay, you, my other hand, let me use that massage you. Okay, you beat my other leg, let me use her. So sometimes I'm her left hand and she's my right. You know, we have to balance ourselves out. And we have come to a point, because I guess for me, I must say that my sounding board, my sisters, my family, they're the ones that help me through my situation, because I know they understand literally what I'm going through. So they speak the same language, and that helps. That helps much more than, you know, I don't need to tell my sister what I'm going through, because the look on my face, she knows what to do. Does that make sense? That helps a lot.
It does.
And I remember a few months ago, we were taking our children back to school, and I was in the flare, and my daughter said, "Mommy, use your stick, use your walking stick." And that was something that when she was younger, she used to be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
You know, me taking her to school with my walking stick.
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, Mommy, use your walking stick. I don't want you to fall." I was like, "But, you know, I am a funky mom, you know, I don't know how it's going to." She said, "No, I don't want you to fall. I don't care what my friends think. I don't want you to fall. Use your walking stick." You know, and that took me all kinds of ways, because I wasn't sure if I was happy that she was now accepting it, or I had totally messed her up. You know, I wasn't sure how to accept it. So,
no.
Yemisi, we have less than 10 minutes. There's someone who asked the question whether the transplant, the stem cell has helped. So can you answer that, please?
Oh, you know, sometimes it did help initially. Initially it did, and then it didn't. I don't know where I would have been had I not done the transplant. It might have made things doubly worse. I might not be here today. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So I'm glad I did it. I did have respite, but I think that there's a lot of stress. I think MS is not stress does not help MS. And no matter what you do, no matter whether you're eating right, no matter whether sorry, no matter whether you're eating right, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you've done, if there's a lot of stress in your life, then it's going to just go belly up.
Yeah. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. So
sorry, Erepere, something I wanted to say, and perhaps I missed. Shame. It's a very toxic emotion, and it's something that a lot of us feel, rightly or wrongly. And I think part of accepting and processing and adjusting involves letting go of shame. because you said something that, you didn't know how to feel when your daughter said, "Mommy, use your stick." And that's around a feeling of shame that maybe you've let her down. Why should she have to deal with her friends laughing at her? Why should she have to deal with people discounting the fact that you have this condition? And just as stress is not helpful, those of you living with MS, I can't imagine that shame will be any more beneficial to you as well. And so there's a lot of letting go of shame around, why do I have this? Why am I like this? And I feel like this series that you've organized will start you on that process of letting go of shame. There is nothing that you could have done. It's not like there was a queue somewhere and you joined the queue to say, "Here, I'll have some MS, thank you very much." No, this is the hand you've been dealt to a certain extent. So please, if any of you are struggling with feelings of shame, try to find a way to let that go. This is not about you, because you are more than the condition you are living with. And whatever you need to do to be able to live your life as fully as possible around this condition, then just do it. Accepting, of course, that there are days that you will feel better than others. I love the way that you said your sister, sometimes you're her right hand and sometimes she's your left. You know what? If that's what we need to get through the day to be the best we can be, then let it be. That's how we're rolling. I don't care how other people are seeing it. And the other thing I was curious about is, often when things happen, some of the biggest breakthroughs come as a result of people banding together and bringing pressure. So the thing that I was thinking about, because I have a friend who has been living with lupus for a really long time, and she has a foundation. And I was thinking, these are all autoimmune conditions. So in as much as you might have individual conditions within it, maybe an umbrella kind of coming together. Because I was struck by the fact that you said there's 3 of you who are dealing with autoimmune conditions in your family. And my first thought was, why isn't there a study? Why hasn't there been some kind of study saying, because when you said, I think it was Sister Kiki who said she thought it was something that only affected Caucasian people.
Yeah.
We know that physiologically, as African women, as African people, there are some physiological differences. Some things affect us differently to others and so on. So my first thought was, why isn't there a study? Why isn't there some kind of long-term study to say, okay, incidences of occurrences, the age, the symptoms, what works, what doesn't work? And I'm feeling like if there was a big group or big voices, I don't know that it needs to be a big group, but big voices coming together to say, you know what, there are an increasing number of us dealing with this condition or similar conditions, and we really want to not be left out like, stepchildren in the medical community. Somebody, we're prepared to enter your trial for you to try to study this, examine this, find out what is causing these incidences.
That's why the initiative was created. That's what we're doing. So creating the NGO was part of that, and doing this series so that we can put it out there and people are aware of it. And then in the course of it, we realize that we can't just can't just focus on MS. And so we need to branch out into other autoimmune illnesses and things like that. So the focus of this primarily is to create some sort of rehabilitation center for autoimmune.
I'm so happy that sorry, that that this happened, because sorry, somebody's
You mute your mic, please.
mute, dream mute.
I'm gone. Okay, sorry.
So basically, what had happened was that, I felt like I was the only person that had MS in this whole of Nigeria, which was just really difficult. So I kept on trying to find out who else, and then we put together that WhatsApp group. Remember, I think Ms. Johnson, remember I told you about the WhatsApp group?
Yes, you did.
So this is what's come out of our WhatsApp group, which is really, really, when I met Erepere, in fact, she's wonderful. This, I mean, everything that I want to do, she's doing it. So I don't have to do anything because she's doing everything. As I'm thinking it, she's thinking it and she's doing it. And I just think it's just absolutely wonderful. So thank you. Thank you so, so much.
So that's all we really have time for. We've got less than 2 minutes. But words cannot express how excited I am about today. And I know we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of this because there's so much to uncover. Mm-hmm. But I want to say this in terms of our last statement. You need to find some kind of support to hold on to. I am one of the lucky ones. I have awesome siblings who are constantly my support at any time of the day. And I cannot thank God enough for my family. I really can't. Like I said, I'm one of the lucky ones. And I have a few friends who are like family, pretty much. So we need to find some sort of support group, hold on to them, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Never be afraid to ask for help. The worst that anybody can say is no. And if they say no, you move on to someone that say yes. It's as simple as that. I think, eventually you find people who say yes. So, and hold on to it. So thank you so much. Funmi, thank you so much for your advice. And thank you.
I have a question. Which I had put.
So if you need to reach me, you can reach out.
Erepere, somebody has a question.
Hi
What's
there.
The question?
Yes, I had put it in the comments, but I believe it's been missed. Is there an MS association in Nigeria?
This is it.
Right, this is it. So, right, this is pretty much it.
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's what I wanted to ask. Thank
you. This is it.
Yeah,
we have set up an NGO called MS Awareness in Nigeria, which we're trying to push forward, doing things like this, to create awareness and put it out there that this exists, and we're not crazy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you so much. The last episode is on Saturday, so feel free to join in again, and then we'll be taking questions then. If you want to hear from us again, if you want us to continue, just let us know. We think we should, because we need.
We must.
We have a lot to say.
We must. We must.
We have a lot to say.
We must.
Thank you, Yemisi. Thank you so much, Funmi.
Thank you, darling. Thank you for having me.
I love you all.
Thank you for having me.
I'll see you later, Kiki.
It was nice meeting you. I'll get in touch with you.
Love you.
Bye-bye. God bless.
Bye, darling. Yemisi, bye, love.
Take
care.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.